bet you all didn't know we were going to have so much fun with the third chapter of Ruth today. If we were going to take a survey of the crowd gathered here today, what would have been your favorite scene out of Ruth chapter 3? So many vivid images to choose from. The laying at the, I'll raise your laying at the feet. I'll raise your laying at Boaz's feet with a, who are you and how did you get into my bed? Oh my goodness. Yeah, right. You know, we said in week 1 that the imagery of Ruth really is so vivid, and the themes that it raises up are so contemporary that it's not hard at all to imagine this story in a modern setting. It's not even hard to imagine this story as being dramatized for the big screen. All of it plays so very well. For me, Ruth chapter 3 makes me want to seize a moment to do something that we do way too infrequently in the church, at least in our little Lutheran tribe anyways. What we need to do this morning is we need to spend some time talking about the witness of women. We have to spend some time talking about the witness, the faithful witness of women. When I hear Ruth chapter 3, and Naomi start things out by saying to Ruth, listen up, daughter-in-law. Right? That's what it sounds like. Listen up, daughter-in-law. This is what we're going to do. Right? I gotta say, I feel a little bit like that moment from Dead Poets Society. And Robin Williams gets all the boys to lean in around the photographs of all the students that came before. He says, you know, seize the day, boys, right? Seize the day scene. That's Ruth. That's Naomi calling a huddle with Ruth in the beginning of chapter 3. We've got to seize the day. We got to celebrate Naomi's daring in calling that play. We've got to celebrate Ruth's daring in having the courage to head down to the threshing floor. For sure. I mean, she went someplace she was not supposed to go. To do a thing she wasn't supposed to do. Ruth showed up that day and acted boldly. So the threshing floor, I mean, this is, if you can imagine, it's kind of like Ruth going to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. But it's all men, you know? And all they're doing is trading in, you know, the day's harvest. You know, that's the threshing floor. Or you could almost conjure up an image in your mind of like, at least for me, I'm almost imagining pre-Civil War factory type setting in the South, and Memphis, and dealers were bartering over cotton that's been sorted, right? And I'm imagining bosses in their hats with their bullwhips, and somebody's spitting tobacco juice on the floor. And Ruth shows up in that. That's where Ruth shows up, right? Not to be outdone. Boaz eats his fill, he has a little to drink, and he falls asleep. Ruth snuggles up. And then I love, all right, the daring of Ruth raised yet another level. When Boaz wakes up, is presumably startled by her presence, she says to him, spread your cloak over your servant, all right? And when she says that, she doesn't mean, Boaz, would you please throw something around me to hide me from the other guys that are passed out on the threshing floor, right? What she is doing is challenging Boaz to act like a man. Act like next of kin. Spread your cloak, meaning take care of me because I am family. I am the widow of your brother. Hold up your end of the family bargain and do what's right. Spread your cloak over me, right? Ruth is tough. Maybe we call her saucy these days. Saucy Ruth. But we have in the biblical witness so many strong women, and we fail to identify them as being such. I mean, we acknowledge them at the appropriate moment during the church year. But maybe we need to get on board with it more often. I mean, for example, right? If I say, hey, you all, you've heard about Jacob before, right? And everybody, most people go, yes, we've heard of Jacob. Well, Jacob was a lousy guy. Horrible, right? Remember the whole, Jacob on the run, wrestling in the middle of the night with the angel who happens to be God, and he has his hip put out of the socket, right? In that moment, the big dramatic moment in that moment is the angel saying to Jacob, I know you. As in, like, I know your whole nasty life, right? The women we celebrate don't tend to have those moments. Why don't we celebrate them more often? We talk about Ruth, we talk about Naomi, we talk about how bold Ruth is. Doesn't this make you think at all about Mary? This makes me think so much of Mary and the Magnificat, you know? The Lord has looked with favor upon his lowly servant, raised me up, right? Ruth's witness, Mary's voice. How about Mary Magdalene? So amazingly represented in the Gospel of John. So amazingly represented in the Gospel of John. What? Women are mere chattel? Women are mere property of their husbands? Oh, how about we entrust the communication of the resurrection to a woman? Let's do that. Last week, we talked about Boaz, and we talked about his interaction with Ruth, and we used the word hesed. Do you remember that? We used the word hesed, kindness. And in Boaz's interaction with Ruth, how that was an image of the culture of God, right? Today, we remember that the name of this book is Ruth, not Boaz. And we recognize that in her actions, she also demonstrates that hesed. She has the fortitude to go to Boaz and say, hold up your end of the bargain. But she also has not abandoned the mother-in-law of her dead husband. Right? She has not forsaken the family and gone off chasing younger men, which Boaz fully recognizes at the end of the chapter today. And even Boaz says to her, blessed are you. What I love above all else from chapter 3 of Ruth in the daring that Ruth displays. I simply love her willingness, and Naomi's willingness, to take action. In taking action, they demonstrate something that they know about how God works in the world. God doesn't work in the world through magic pixie dust, or nice thoughts, or dreams of a better tomorrow. God works through you and me. Hand in hand. Daring to be faithful together. The story of Ruth connects us to the story of Jesus. We can think about it via the biblical narrative and recognize that genealogically Ruth and Jesus are connected, the Davidic dynasty. But we can also recognize that they're connected because those two stories are both stories about new life and resurrection and hope when there apparently isn't any to be had. The gospel comes to us proclaimed through the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus, but it's also proclaimed to us when we're not gathered here on a Sunday morning through the witness that we are to one another and the witness that we are to the world. We celebrate the story of Ruth. We celebrate the gospel of Christ. And we pray, perhaps a little shyly, but we pray anyways, that we might be given the strength to be as daring